Wow. Once again, we are subjected as a hockey loving country to some of the most insulting and pandering nonsense that I think any of us have ever heard from an organization. If you're unaware, I'm recording this on October 4th when the newest round of Hockey Canada hearings at Canadian Parliament have been taking place, and oh my God, did we just get an insane amount of nonsensical blathering garbage from the people representing Hockey Canada today. Like the level of insult that we were subjected to as Canadians that put faith in this organization to do things properly and to take care of people the right way and to exude Canadian values, if you will, through the sport that our country really identifies with. It is just, and to have this level of just nonsensical crap shoveled up and thrown in our faces collectively as people that care about the game, not Hockey Canada, the game, because I don't care about Hockey Canada and their survival through all of this. I just don't. And if you do, turn this video off. Like I don't even know what to say to you, and I don't want to hear comments or people messaging me or just whatever, or sitting there reacting to this video and going, oh, it's not that bad, oh, Hockey Canada, we need Hockey Canada. No, we don't. We don't need Hockey Canada. Canada needs hockey. Like, I'll give you that. We have built such a on the basis of sport anyway, and ingrained it as part of our society, that hockey is part of what we care about in terms of our identity as a nation on the level of sport and society. Sure, we don't need the organization that calls itself Hockey Canada for any of that to continue, although they would have you believe that we do, which is where they're going to completely fool and take advantage of people if they're allowed to just continue being the organization that they are. And my God, did Andrea Skinner, the interim board of Hockey Canada, ever put a performance on today? She was embarrassing. I would be embarrassed to have her leading a donut shop, let alone Hockey Canada. Rick Westhead tweeting Andrea Skinner on the prospect of removing Hockey Canada leaders. I think that will be, she said, and I quote, I think that will be very impactful in a negative way to our boys and girls who are playing hockey. Will the lights stay on in the rink? I don't know. We can't predict that. And to me, that's not a risk worth taking. What are you talking about, Andrea Skinner? What like how insulting of a statement alone, never mind all the other things we're going to touch on that were said and not said today. That alone is like so insulting to the hockey community, that the best parts of hockey that make the game what it truly is supposed to be, an inclusive thing for everybody to enjoy as Canadians and people around the world. Hockey, let's just be clear here. Hockey is not our game anymore. And I'm sorry if that I'm not sorry, actually. I'm not sorry at all. I'm not sorry if that offends you, because it's true. And if you're offended by that, that to me just says you're dumb and can't look at objective fact in front of your face. You're probably one of these Google doctors that just Google something and goes, oh, I can diagnose you. Cancer doesn't exist, or something dumb like that. So I don't even want to hear that. So I'm not actually sorry if it offends you for me to suggest that hockey, which has become globally popular in many different places and is a gigantic national deal in places like Sweden, Finland, Russia, unfortunately, right now. But it was just recently the 50th anniversary of the Summit Series. You tell me that people didn't care about Russia winning that? They did, let me tell you. And Paul Henderson broke their hearts. But I digress. Suggesting that, all said, that hockey's now a world game. It's not just ours, and it shouldn't be ours. Like, we should want other people to enjoy it around the world and have the sport be as popular as possible. So, like, if you have this like nationalistic view of hockey, like, it's that's bizarre to me. That would be counteractive to having it be the best it could be. We want good competition. Soccer wouldn't be any good if Brazil and England just ran over everybody. They don't. They actually rarely do nowadays. And soccer is the most undisputedly popular sport on the planet. And it's because other nations have gotten really good at it. So we should want hockey to be great everywhere. In terms of the state that it's in here in Canada, and I'm not talking about the game itself and the entertainment value of the modern game. We're not talking about Wayne Gretzky compared to Crosby, compared to Bobby Orr, compared to Newsy Lalonde. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the state of, we're all talking about the state of the people that are responsible for handling the well-being and future of the game here in Canada. And the organization known as Hockey Canada is doing a horrific car crash of a job. And if you're not on the same page with that, I don't know what kind of headspace you're in, or that I can even bother convincing you that this is a problem. So turn the video off. Again, I beg you, turn away. I'm wasting your time if you think that everything's hunky-dory with Hockey Canada and we should just keep Scott Smith and this board of directors that have overseen this nonsense and move on. Please move on from this video. But for the rest of you that have brains, please take a journey with me, if you're uninformed, about some of the things that were said today, starting with that. And we'll come back to that statement that Rick Westhead quoted from Andrea Skinner, the interim board chair of Hockey Canada right now. I'll touch on it briefly, though, again. So insulting to suggest that if we get rid of this board of directors and Scott Smith and either install new people under the moniker of Hockey Canada, or just abolish Hockey Canada in general and start a new organization, literally from the ground up, that if we do that, all of the lights in the rinks around Canada will turn off, is so asinine of a statement. And it's insulting to, again, the people that make the game good and great, dare I say. And that's the volunteers around the league. I'm here in Listowel, Ontario. I'm blocks away, less than a 5-minute walk from the beautiful Steve Kerr Memorial Center. And the people over there that make sure that Listowel Minor Hockey and the Listowel Junior B Cyclone seasons happen, they would still do that whether Hockey Canada existed tomorrow when we wake up or not. And to suggest they wouldn't is so insulting. The majority of people around your local rinks are volunteers. If they're getting paid very little, and they barely get any time off from doing so because hockey season is demanding, especially at the minor hockey level and junior hockey level, where you have games pretty much all week, if not practices, for all the organizations that may use your local rink. Many here in Listowel, I can tell you, all the different levels of minor hockey, plus the Junior B Cyclones, plus rentals. They got to take care of that too. Someone's got to come clear the ice. Like, there's so many people that are making the machine of hockey, not Hockey Canada, hockey, run in this country. And saying that their ability to do so is dependent on what? I don't know how big Hockey Canada's board of director is. Let's say 10 people. You think that thousands of people across Canada that make this sport go are and them keeping the lights in the arena on, as Andrea Skinner so goofily put it, you think that that's dependent on these people? I guarantee you that I could go around the nation and ask people in the middle of nowhere, Saskatchewan, the interior of BC, the Northwest Territories, all the way to Halifax, which, by the way, God love our people in Atlantic Canada right now, man. I'm feeling for you. But to suggest I could go to any rink in those areas around this nation, and I can almost guarantee you 99% of the people I would ask this to wouldn't have a clue if I were to say, who sits on the board of directors of Hockey Canada? I can guarantee you 99% of them couldn't name more than maybe one. Most of them wouldn't even know who Scott Smith is. Till now, a year ago, I could have walked out and over a year ago could have walked around and said, who's the president of Hockey Canada? I guarantee a majority of the people don't know. They certainly know who Scott Smith is now. So, like, what are you talking about? Andrea Skinner, God, did she put a performance on? Katie Strang, at Katie J. Strang, one of the senior investigative writers with The Athletic, one of the best in the biz. She was live tweeting the proceedings today. Let's go through some of these. So she starts tweeting, in the opening statement to the Canadian Heritage Committee, former board chair Michael Brindamore said that the board's decision, Hockey Canada's board's decision, to authorize a settlement to a woman in 2018 that was allegedly sexually assaulted by members of the World Junior team that year, they did that because the board felt it would be, quote, inappropriate to victimize the young woman in court. Then Andrea Skinner, the current board chair, told the committee that she finds focusing on toxic behavior in hockey and scapegoating the sport to be, quote, counterproductive, saying that, quote, no segment of society is immune. Well, that's nice, isn't it? Is that an ambiguous and obvious statement that essentially in these proceedings mean nothing? Yes. Of course, no segment of society is immune. We already know that. Like, you've not given us any new information here, Andrea. But that's not an excuse to do nothing about the way that your organization handles this particular heinous crime we're talking about. Like, is theft? Is every segment of society immune from theft? No. I've had something stolen from me at a hockey rink. Someone stole a stick of mine. Does that just mean and I didn't at the time, it was a cheap stick, but if I had called the cops and they showed up, does that just mean that the cop goes, well, no segment of society is immune from theft, so it doesn't really matter that something was stolen? Like, what the hell does that even mean? Of course not. Of course it matters that people are being sexually assaulted by members that your organization oversee and are responsible for, and that your organization took money from paying Canadian parents, put it in a slush fund, which we've confirmed exists, and spent sky high. Registration fees for hockey are unbelievable. We like to talk about, oh, hockey's our game. Then why are we killing it? It's insanely expensive to play this game. I shudder to think of what it'll look like in 50 years. You go to any high-level rink in any high-level area of hockey playing, the GTHL, whatever. It's just Mercedes and Porsches lined down the thing. You have to be rich to be able to put your kid into any type of high level of hockey. And even if you just want to play house league, it's like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And when you spend that. And for people that are going, well, what does it matter? I mean, every business has liability stuff that goes on and set aside money for it. Yeah, but you didn't tell everybody that that's what you were doing. That's the problem here. And the way that you handled it. You tried to give these people that were alleging that they were the victims of a horrible crime, and you tried to just give them money and sweep it under the rug. You didn't tell Canadian parents paying these sky-high fees to have their kid play house league somewhere like here, Listowel, Ontario, or my hometown of Arthur, even smaller. Insane what it costs to play hockey there. You didn't tell those parents that you were going to take a bunch of that money and put it in this slush fund and pay off victims of sexual assault. And so for everybody going, oh, well, that's not a big deal. You know, every company has liabilities and they would set aside money for this, that, and the other. Well, it is a big deal. If you paid me to replace the windows in your house, you gave me a budget and you said, I'm going to give you this money and I want you to replace it. And I go, okay, well, this is what it's going to cost. Here's what you need to give me. And then I replace the windows in your house. And then 2 years later, you discover that I actually lied about what the budget was. I took some of that money off the top and I bought myself a hot tub with it. Is that okay? It's the same thing. I used money that you gave me. I said a service that I was providing you cost a certain price. You gave me that money, and then I took some off the top, did the service for you, but I took some of that money and I bought myself something, grand like a hot tub. How is that okay to you? I digress. Let's continue. Katie Strang has more. Andrea Skinner echoed Michael Brindamore's sentiments related to the settlement, framing it as Hockey Canada's attempt to spare the young woman from adversarial court procedures / aggressive legal defense tactics. Said the organization was acting with, quote, compassion to the young woman, which is outrageous. And at that point, she actually brought up, Andrea Skinner did. She actually brought up and referenced the Jake Virtanen case for some reason. She said, well, look at what just happened with the Jake Virtanen case. We didn't want to have to put this young woman through that. And so, that's the basis of the settlement, which is like a completely different thing here. How is that not clear to you? And it's insulting that Andrea thinks she can just slide something like that past Canadians, especially the parents that pay for their kids to play. The Jake Virtanen thing is a private matter outside of the organization. The Vancouver Canucks, whom he was playing with at the time when it was alleged he sexually assaulted that woman, did not hire lawyers and come to his defense. It was a private matter where he had to hire legal counsel himself and have that counsel represent him by himself, not as a member of the Vancouver Canucks, or in this case, as an example to spin this back on Andrea Skinner, of Hockey Canada. That was a private thing where it was him versus this woman, not Hockey Canada defending these players and going, here's money to make this go away. Not even remotely the same. I'm not a legal expert. I don't even need to know law to know that that's not the same thing. A person with any logic could deduce that. Come on. So the insulting continues. It's just such a joke. Housefather, one of the MPs, MP Anthony Housefather, cited from recent board meeting minutes of Hockey Canada, in which Hockey Canada has internally expressed a need to shift the narrative and to counter reporting on the matter in the press. And Andrea Skinner basically went on the defensive today, saying that the press is making too big a deal of this. She's been personally attacked, which, by the way, MP John Nader, who's the MP of my riding, Perth Wellington, condemned. He said no one should be getting attacked in these scenarios, but she said, "Oh, the media is blowing this up. That's why it looks so bad for us, is that we look so bad." This was pulled directly from meeting minutes of Hockey Canada. We are a family and we need to start pushing back. We need to start defending ourselves and stop sitting in the neutral zone. That's their stance here. These people think they're invincible. They are bereft of consequence. They think that without them, without Hockey Canada and these 10 or so people and Scott Smith, that hockey dies, which we already talked about is such a farce. It's such a joke. I just can't understand why this is the stance you would take. It's just such a joke. We continue as Katie Strang continues to report that MP Rachel Thomas was questioning how Andrea Skinner and the board can be committed to changing the culture without considering those at the top as responsible for driving the change. She asked Skinner the 3 best qualities that make Scott Smith the best leader. Andrea Skinner, you can watch the video, she just stumbled around, couldn't come up with anything. Then she just said, well, he has a great team in place. That's not a quality. That's not a personal quality. He's determined. He's communicative. He's got experience. He has a good knowledge of legal proceedings. I don't know. I just made those up off the top of my head. But saying he's got a good team in place, that's not a personal quality attributable to Scott Smith. That's got nothing to do with Scott Smith. Like, how is it that someone this seemingly dumb, and Andrea Skinner must not be, but she's come off in this whole proceeding as incredibly dumb or insulting. It's a two-headed coin here. She's either dumb or she just thinks that we're all stupid enough to not recognize that she thinks we're that stupid. And it's so ridiculous. The MPs at the hearing then began asking Michael Brindamore and had to berate him numerous times to finally answer about whether he thought Scott Smith was a good leader and the right person to take Hockey Canada forward and whether he had confidence. He wouldn't answer and kept deflecting. Finally, he just said, yeah. And they asked him directly, like, do you have contempt for these hearings? Like, is it a problem for you to be here? Which is so ridiculous. So here's Katie Strang once again quoting what Andrea Skinner said. I think it speaks to how Hockey Canada views this proceeding, said MP Biddle, regarding what he felt was Skinner and Brindamore's refusal to answer a direct question by committee members. That was the one about Scott Smith. It's troubling that you dismiss the question and dismiss us. Then Skinner reiterates she does not believe mass board resignations and changes in senior leadership is the right move. She said she also wonders how it will impact hockey playing youth in Canada. Will the lights stay on in the rinks? Skinner asks. I don't know. So bizarre. That is so insulting to me still. Just to read it again is so outrageous. I just can't believe that these are the type of things that are being said by these people. And there's still people going, oh, yeah, it's not a big deal. Like, let these people continue to do this. Then Andrea Skinner was asked by Anthony Housefather, an MP, to grade Scott Smith on his role right now. And after a very lengthy pause, she goes, quote, I would say he's conducting himself as an A under these circumstances. Under these circumstances? Like, the people at Hockey Canada are trying to, play the victim here and go, oh, the media is being so mean to us. It's so mean and overblown what the media is doing here. One thing I'll say to Andrea's question, how might this impact girls and boys playing? Well, I can certainly say that it probably would impact the girls negatively. Any girl with a brain is looking at this and going, you're going to let these people continue to do this after numerous allegations and cover-ups and slush funds and stealing. I'll just call it that. Stealing from the Canadian hockey playing public to sweep under the rug allegations of sexual assault against players and people like us. That's how it there you go, Andrea. That's how it impacts the girls. I can't speak for the boys who are also victims of sexual assault by people within the hockey community more often than not, and more often than is reported, i.e. Sheldon Kennedy, Theo Fleury. Read their books. Graham James is one of the most heinous and disgusting people in hockey history. Sexually assaulted numerous boys that he was in charge of protecting and coaching. That's how it impacts them. You keep leaving the same people that have overseen this problem, and not only overseen it and saw the problem happening, lifted the carpet up and swept it underneath. That's the impact. It keeps happening. And to go back to the stupid earlier sentiment, oh, no segment of society is bereft of sexual assault and whatever other crime you want to come up with. Exactly. So what is the solution? Do nothing? Just continue on as we are? These people have done nothing but prove that they think that they're in charge. Hockey runs through them. They're bereft of consequence, and they can handle your money that you pay for registration fees for your son or daughter to play hockey, and they can just do whatever they want with it. That's all that says. And the most dangerous saying in human history is, well, we've always done it this way. Nothing would ever get done or improve. Nothing would ever change. It's always been done that way. Why would we change it? It's always been done that way. Really great sentiment there. It's so insulting. It's just so insulting. Committee Chair Hetty Fry, Katie Strang continues tweeting, ends the hearing by bemoaning the lack of transparency as well, chastising Hockey Canada's approach to the committee's questions and overall defensive posturing. Fry was quoted as saying, blaming everybody else doesn't mean there's a sense of accountability. Exactly. These people that are running Hockey Canada currently don't think that the safety of people that people within their organization interact with, or the people within their organizations, they don't think that the safety of those people matter. If they did, we wouldn't be in this scenario. And the government has frozen their federal funding, and they should keep it frozen. And Tim Hortons and whatever else, all the other sponsors, they should keep money away from them until these people are gone. Because just saying, oh, well, what would it matter if we replaced all these people? Sexual assaults are still going to happen. What does it matter? That's like saying, well, thefts are going to continue happening. Why bother putting up CCTV cameras to catch these people? Why should we? What's the point? Going to continue happening. Really great attitude, for anything in life. Well, it'll just continue like this, so why should I bother to try and make something better? Really good attitude. Literally the exact opposite of the attitudes that our game tries to implement to young boys and girls. We're down 3-1 in the third period with 5 minutes left. It's not over till it's over. We got to keep trying. We got to band together as a team and make this happen. Well, but the score's 3-1 and they might score also again more. So why bother trying? Let's lose 6-1. Like, the hypocrisy is unbelievable. We love hockey because of those things that it represents. We love hockey for bringing French Canadians together during the Richard riots and establishing this great game back in the early 1900s when working class people would flood ponds and get together and play and string up fishnets to catch the pucks. We love this game for 1972 and Henderson taking a wild stab in the slot and not giving up when it looked like the Russians were going to beat us. And we didn't let them, because that's not what we do. We didn't let, Canadians, we fought in the world wars. We were the most fearsome fighters out there. Our country represented hope for people on a broader scale. I know I'm comparing two different things here, but that's part of what intrinsically it makes us Canadian. We don't give up. We see a problem and we fix it. We go after it. And if we can't fix it, we keep trying, because it's un-Canadian to lay down and just go, well, it doesn't look like it's getting better immediately, so what's the point of changing anything? Why even try? That's not what we do. And that's not what we're taught in sport. Forget hockey, tennis, soccer, baseball, whatever. We're down 5 runs in the 9th. Let's hit 6. You don't just lay down and quit. So for Andrea Skinner and all the people going, well, sexual assaults will still happen, what do you do? We don't handle it like this. It's very simple. We don't do this. We don't pick up the rug like a coward and sweep it underneath to protect privileged people that are going to go and potentially make millions of dollars in the NHL and walk away from a situation like this, allegedly, with no consequences. That's not what we do. We don't just give up, and we don't handle a situation like what's been put forth to us by Hockey Canada like this. We don't do it. And for people wondering, for ages, years since I've been podcasting and doing our show, this flag behind me, it is a Hockey Canada flag. It's from the 2010 Olympics. That's why there's the gold outline on it. And it literally says Hockey Canada in the corner. I don't want it anymore. I don't want it anymore. I don't want it up. And now that I've torn that flag down, which again, I'll reiterate, is not a Canadian flag, it's a Hockey Canada branded flag. Now that I've torn that down, I ask you, will the lights in the rink stay on? God help us.